What's up guys, welcome back to the Utah Airguns channel. Today we are going to restart the review machine, most of which I'll be doing, and what better gun to start that with than the FX DRS.
That was the coolest thing ever.
So today we have the FX DRS synthetic, specifically a 700mm in 25 cal with the bigger plenum. We threw an element nexus on here in some element rings, but throughout these reviews I'm going to try and be as unbiased as possible. I'm still fairly new to airguns, only been in the airgun industry for the past few months, so I'm in a unique position to review these guns coming from a precision rifle background into the airgun world. So I'm going to start off with just going over a few specs of the DRS synthetic. We'll talk about like the fit and finish, just first impressions kind of stuff. So let's jump right into that. So our specific model, like I said before, is the 700mm in 25 cal. It comes in their synthetic stock with their soft touch finish. These will also be available in a walnut stock that looks fantastic. I've seen those models. But this one, being a 700mm, it comes with their heavy liner, so you will be able to shoot slugs out of this. And because it's in the 700mm shooting slugs, we have the bigger plenum, and it comes with a slug power kit already installed so that you can push the power. And it can definitely push the power. We've shot this a few times just to kind of do some testing, and it's performing really well. The other models in the DRS synthetic are available in 500 and 600mm and you can get it in 177, 22, and 25 cal. You can also get the Pro, which comes in an MDT ACC Elite chassis that you've probably seen all over on our page as well as other pages, and it's pretty sick. It's a great gun. But today we are going to be just talking about this synthetic. So obviously you've probably heard the DRS talked about a lot, and its very unique air system. That being that the air is stored around the barrel and your plenum is the box magazine, so that gives you a much more traditional looking and feel than your normal air rifle that will have the tank under the barrel or in the stock. And I am a huge fan of this, coming from my background, just having a much more well balanced and shootable air rifle. I've shot the DRS Pro quite a lot, and it is a fantastic rifle, and I've put quite a few rounds through the synthetics in different barrel lengths and calibers, and I'm a huge fan. It balances surprisingly well for being a synthetic stock with a lot of the weight out front. We've shot it off of barricades and off of bags like this, and it's a very shootable rifle, and it's very enjoyable. It's very lightweight as well. I think the 700 millimeter barrel with the synthetic, I think it's around 5.5 pounds before you add a scope and a moderator. So we're probably sitting around close to 7 pounds with this setup. So it's a great just kind of stalking, walking around hunting gun. So a few of the other specs on this rifle: you get one gauge on the left side, and it's your main fill gauge. You fill it up to 230 bar with the aluminum tank around the barrel. They have a carbon fiber upgrade kit that I think you can fill to 250 bar, which I don't think is quite released yet. In 25 cal, you have a 12-shot rotary magazine, just like all the FX magazines. They're great, they feed well. This one, it has two scope rail heights, so it comes out of the box with normal dovetail right about there, and you can add, this is the high rail, or they have one that's a lot shorter than this that's also a pick rail that you can add to it. And I think with this setup, this is probably my favorite setup. It gives me good eye relief. I like a good kind of hard cheek weld, so that this height with these are the element medium height rings on a 30mm tube, so that gives me just like perfect height. Most of my other guns are you might be able to hear Justin singing out there if my mic's picking it up. But you basically get 3 different options. You get dovetail and 2 pick rail heights, and you'll be able to add that to any DRS. the pro or the synthetic. So my initial impressions, just like when I first pick up the gun, it's FX quality. They are fantastic. Fit and finish is basically flawless. A lot of thought goes into the aesthetics on these guns, especially this one, because I think they were going for a very traditional look with the synthetic and, well, the classic. This is the synthetic option, and the other option is in the walnut, and the walnut looks amazing. It's a really, really nice wood. Some of the things they did to keep the kind of the aesthetic flow of being more minimalist and not airgun looking is on this side, your fill port, you fill it with a fill probe right there, so you can take that out so you don't have any Foster fittings or anything hanging out of the gun. If you're not too worried about the aesthetic and you want to keep it real, don't really care about keeping it non-airgun looking, you can add a plenum gauge to here so that you can see what you're adjusting it to. Because it has a heavy liner in it, we can shoot slugs, which we are going to show, and you can also tune it down. It will shoot pellets really well as well. So that's one of the cool things about this setup is if you want a high-end gun but you really don't want to invest a ton and you're not a tuning nerd, you don't want to go and get into like an expensive M3 or a King or a Pantera, the DRS synthetic is going to be a great option, because if you get it in the 700, you can get it with the heavy liner in there. If you ever want to shoot slugs or pellets, you can tune it for either. It's just going to be a great all-around gun. It's going to be a good investment if you're getting into your first gun and you just want a gun that can do it all. You could easily shoot an NRL 22 match with the synthetic, and then down the road you could upgrade to the MDT stock and you'd be set. So with all that said, let's start shooting it. So we're going to go down into our range. We're going to shoot a couple groups with some slugs. We're going to tune it down and shoot some groups with some pellets. Hopefully we'll be able to get outside and maybe even hunt with it, but let's go do that right now. All right guys, we're in the range. We've got the DRS all set up. I just cleaned it just to make sure that it's shooting at its highest level. We're going to start out by shooting some slugs. We're shooting some 37 grain Zan slugs through it, and so far it's really liking the tune that we have on it. We've got a chronograph set up, and what I'm going to do is I want to do a little experiment. So I'm going to shoot the Zans, we'll shoot a group with them, and then we have some AEA pellets. These are 33 grain pellets, and I'm going to shoot them with the same tune, which will probably get a lot of comments because the pellets are going to be screaming for pellet speeds and stuff like that, but I just want to see, like, is it viable to have one tune for slugs and pellets because it's got a heavy liner. But after that, we're going to tune the gun down a little bit to be optimized for pellets and pellet speeds, just to show you the tuning process and how that goes. But so we're just going to start by shooting a group with the Zan slugs. Why is it doing that? Yeah, that was a great group. Let's bring that one back. One thing I've noticed about these lighter guns compared to like my impact and my dynamic is they're very sensitive to how you drive them. So I found, we'll show these bottom two groups and then this top group, and I was putting different kind of pressure and input on the gun. And to you guys that are the OG air rifles that have shot Springers, stuff like that, you'll know this. But I was almost doing like a free recoil. I was putting the least amount of input into the gun and just kind of tapping the trigger. But this group, I was make sure the gun was like really pressed into my shoulder, and I just had a good solid grip on the grip of the gun. And it seems to be that this gun really likes to be driven harder and not so much just kind of left to its own free recoil. There's not a lot of recoil, but you PRS guys will know there's a lot of guys that swear by free recoil, just letting the gun do its thing. But this lighter gun really likes to be driven. So if you're having issues shooting any gun, or if you have a DRS, try different inputs into the gun, because there's there's a very clear difference to how this gun likes to be driven. So I'm glad that happened. That's a good example. I'm not going to retune the gun. I'm just going to shoot some pellets through it and see how they shoot. Just with a slug tune. They'll be going too fast, I know. Save your comments. I know we know what we're doing. We're Utah Airguns. So we're just going to see, just for fun. So send the target back and we'll try that. And one thing that you'll get from actually tuning the gun for pellets is a better shot count, being that obviously the DRS has a smaller tank than other guns. Your shot count isn't going to be as stellar as, like, you know, an impact with the big tank on it. So that's one benefit to tuning it for pellets. And another thing with the DRS that we've found is, experienced airgunners will know this, that you can kind of hear if a gun is happy with the tune or not. You'll hear like extra air. It'll be louder even though you're running a moderator. If it's overhammered, you're letting out too much air and you're kind of seeing a decrease in performance. So that's one thing that we've noticed a lot with the DRS, is it really lets you know if it's not happy, if it doesn't like a certain tune. Like if it starts shooting good and it's quiet, that's a good tune. Because we went through a couple different slug weights and tunes before we found one that it really liked, and you could really tell when it liked the right tune because it just sounds happy. I'm going to shoot that top right corner. The zero is probably not going to be the same, but I'm going to hold the same, and we're just going for consistency. Yeah, see, those pellets are screaming. So that shot really good. Our point of impact is just a touch higher because we're 4 grains lighter. But it'll work. So if you want to throw pellets in here, they'll shoot accurately. But at distance, they might be a little overspun. You might see spiraling, stuff like that. It's kind of hard to tell in a 35-yard range. But that's a little too fast for pellets. But as far as just going without detuning the gun for pellets, that's pretty cool. You have almost no POI shift. I'd say you're a 10th high at 35 yards, which is still minute of squirrel accuracy or minute of starling. So that's really cool. But now what we're going to do is I'll throw a fresh target up and we're going to tune it back for these pellets and just see if we can really optimize it for pellets now, even though we have a heavy liner in it. With these heavier pellets, they might like the faster speed. So this could be a really cool tune. So see, that was our group with the slugs, and then that was with the pellets. So you can see it's maybe a 10th high, but still super consistent. Point of impact was very, very little change. And we'll shoot it out to distance tomorrow and just see, because maybe that's just a really sweet spot. 37 grain Zans and 33 grain AEAs, same tune for both. You're just a little bit faster with the pellets. That'd be cool if these pellets like stay stable. You know, pellets are generally used for like 150 to 100 and in, just because they're drag stabilized, but I think that's cool. There's probably going to be some people that are really butthurt in the comments because you need to tune them for both and it's not optimized, but just be happy for me. All right, let's tune it for pellets now and see what we can do. All right, so just starting off, I'm gonna just see what taking the hammer spring back or down does to our velocity with the pellets. Need a number 4 Allen wrench. Take out this one screw. Just loosen it a little bit. And then it'll just pop out of the action. And then right here, oops, dropped my screw. So right here is where your hammer spring is at. So I'm gonna start by taking back a full turn. And then, just to save time, I'm just going to shoot it past the chrono and just see if it's at a velocity I like. I'm not gonna bother about putting it in and out of the stock and tightening it down. We're just looking for velocity right now. Right as our chronograph turns off. Oh, it turned back on. We're good. All right, so let's see what we got. Yeah, so that's still a little fast. So that's telling me we're probably going to need to take the turn our reg down as well. And your reg is right up here. So I'm going to start with a quarter turn. Still fast. Let's see if another one changes that. Oh, I hit a target. 957. So that's, they're going in the right direction. Send one more. 949. So I'm going to turn the reg down just another, maybe an 8th turn. Send another one. With pellets, I'm looking for accuracy, obviously, but I'm looking for optimized shot count. So I hit a 9 target. 941. 925. So let's throw our stock back on and just see what kind of groups we're getting right there. I like where the reg's at. And so now we'll just kind of do the fine tuning with the hammer spring because I gave ourselves a good bit of leeway with where I put that hammer spring. Also with these guns, you probably also know this from Springers or other air rifles, the accuracy is sensitive to how much you torque the action screw. So keep that in mind as well when you're tuning these guns. Other than the tuning process on the gun, I'm a huge fan. Which it's expected. Like I say, I don't like the tuning process, but the benefit you get from kind of making the tuning process harder is the aesthetic and the more traditional feel of the rifle. If that was just kind of the sacrifice, it's still very tunable, and you can milk a lot of accuracy and power out of it, but you still get like the aesthetic and the ergonomics of a more traditional rifle with that. So I say it's a downside, but the benefits outweigh that downside. So, all right. We're probably gonna have a bit of a POI shift as well. They've got a new target up, so let's see where we're hitting. Wow, almost no change in POI. That's nice. All right, I think we got lucky. That is an awesome group. And I'm probably just gonna adjust the scope just a touch. Bring it up one and right one. And then I'll shoot one more group. See how we're doing on shot count. Maybe I adjusted wrong. That group's good. I'm gonna bring it right one more. And I'm just gonna keep going. I wanna see what our shot count is looking like. With the heavier 37 grain Zans, we were getting about 15 shots before we'd start seeing a decrease in velocity. And so far with pellets, we're getting a lot more than that, especially with a tune that's optimized for pellets, shooting them slower. But I mean, 33 grain pellets at around 920, that's some good power. This is a really good, like, hunting gun. I'm gonna shoot another group after I made this one adjustment. All right, so I think we're just falling off the reg now. So that gives us about 2 mags of shots with the pellets. So 24 shots. For slugs or pellets, that's enough to get you through a stage at a match if you're going to shoot an NRL 22 match shooting slugs. And that's plenty if you're just going around like varmint hunting and shooting birds, unless you're at some crazy dairy that's like covered in starlings. You'll be airing up a lot. But other than that, I think the ergonomics and the accuracy outweigh the slight disadvantage of the lower shot count. But yeah, let's bring those targets back real quick. I'll show you those 2 groups we shot. And for your guys' reference, if you get a DRS, it really likes the AEA pellets. That's what I've been shooting a lot. I did okay with my bench gun with AEA pellets, the 45 grainers. It shot really well with those. All right, so even with losing velocity, that was what we were looking at. That's 5 shots, and that's 5 shots, and I kind of pulled those 2. But yeah, let's go upstairs, and we'll go over our final thoughts on the DRS. All right, guys, we're back in the studio. We're gonna go over just kind of my final thoughts on the DRS Classic or the DRS Synthetic, whatever you want to call it. Let's just start off with the meat of the gun, and we'll start off with the most important part, and that is obviously how it shoots. So we started out, we were shooting some Zan 37s, and the first 2 groups we shot aren't very desirable, in all honesty. I would not be happy with that. But through a little bit of experimentation and some past experience with other guns, centerfire and air rifle, lighter guns they need to be driven differently or held differently. And with these 2 lower ones, I was kind of free recoiling it, and in my experience, that doesn't really work that well on lighter guns. And basically what I'm fixing when I'm driving the gun differently is with lighter guns, especially with air rifles and slower projectile firearms, is you have a longer dwell time in the barrel. With the projectile is in the barrel for longer than like a centerfire would be, obviously. So those little micro movements and influences that you put in on the gun while the bullet is still in the barrel can change your POI. So I was really working on driving the gun to the bullseye and keeping it on target through recoil, even though that sounds kind of like pansy-ish through recoil because it's an air rifle, but it still can affect accuracy. So when I drove the gun and really held it there and just, not so much muscled it, but I put definitely more input than I was here, I got a lot better with the results. And when I was kind of leaving it to its own devices, it started to walk around. It's still, you can still kill with it, but obviously that accuracy is a lot more desirable. So after that, we didn't change the tune. We threw in some 33 grain AEA pellets and shot it with the same tune, driving it the same. And the POI is almost identical, just a little bit higher. Obviously, that's a lighter pellet's going to be going faster, so it's going to hit higher. But I think that's kind of cool that there's almost no POI shift between 2 projectiles. But one thing that we will have to test in the future is how those faster pellets are flying at extended ranges. You're not seeing a lot of atmospherics and ballistic anomalies in an enclosed 33 or 35 yard range. Once we get past that and get out and shoot in wind and other stuff, those pellets might do weird things at that higher velocity that pellets generally don't like. But so we will get out and we'll get back to you on that, shooting those pellets at a little bit faster, because I know it's frowned on shooting pellets fast like that, and you really should tune it to the projectile. But I just think that's cool that you can shoot a heavier slug, better ballistics, and then if you really wanted to, you could throw in some pellets and have almost an identical POI. So after that, we showed you how to tune it. On the subject of tuning, it is not the most convenient gun to tune, but I don't think it was meant for the tuners, the guys that are really gonna, you know, fine tune the tune through projectile, hammer spring, you know, regulator pressure and stuff like that. The DRS synthetic and classic was really just meant to be just an all-around really good gun for hunting. I don't see why you couldn't shoot an NRL 22 match with this. It wouldn't be ideal, but it's more than doable. But yeah, if you really want to nerd out and tune guns, get an impact, get a king, stuff like that. One thing I will say for the tuners is the DRS Pro is a little bit easier to tune, because with the stock that it comes with, you don't have to take it off to change the hammer spring. So it has a little cutout so you can still tune it right there. So really at that point you just have to change your reg pressure, and then you can fine tune the hammer spring. After the slugs and the experiment with the pellets, we went and tuned it for the pellets. We brought the reg pressure down and the hammer spring down, and we were shooting low 900s with the 33 grain pellets. And the first group before we changed to 0 shot awesome. That's 5 shots basically on top of each other, same hole. We adjusted, pretty much the same result. After that, we just went on to test the shot count, and even after we were starting to see the loss in velocity, the POI really didn't change. But we don't want to empty the gun, obviously that's not good. So with pellets and a good tune, we were getting about 2 mags worth of shots. With a heavier pellet, as far as 25 cals go, we were shooting 33 grains. But obviously tuning it for a lighter pellet, you'll get a better shot count. But yeah, so that was our kind of results from shooting slugs, shooting pellets on a slug tune, and then shooting pellets, and this all is in a heavy liner. So all in all, I'm really happy with the gun. I think they did a great job on it. I think they put a lot of thought into it. Aesthetically, it's, in my opinion, the best looking air rifle out there, just because it looks more like a real precision rifle, which is where I come from. And for everything it does, like it does it really well. I think I'm really excited to see what FX does with this design in the future. I know they really reworked the valving to make it ultra efficient so that you could get max power and shot count out of this style of tank. I think they're working on a higher pressure tank, carbon fiber one, so that you could do 250 bar instead of 230, which will give you a decent increase in shot count. But yeah, my really only critiques are with the tuning, but I feel kind of out of place giving those critiques for the tuning, just because they meant to sacrifice that convenience to make the gun how it is, to make it look a lot more like a traditional rifle, and it's still very tunable, so I won't hold that against them at all. But other than that, like I'm a huge fan of the gun. The trigger's great, action's smooth as always. FX has their charging handles down. Ergonomically, it's awesome. It shoots great. It's quiet. We do have an impulse air moderator on here. Again, this is the 25 cal 700 millimeter version. So when you get into the 700 millimeter barrel lengths, it comes with the heavy liner, so it's meant to shoot slugs. But we showed that you can shoot pellets very well with a slug tune and tuning it down to a normal pellet tune. I'm also curious to hear your guys' thoughts, how you thought this review was structured, how you guys are shooting your DRSs, what kind of shot count you're getting, what kind of groups you're getting, what projectiles you're using. Just let us know in the comments, tag us in social media, stuff like that. And then let us know in the comments what rifle you want us to review next. I'm going to be doing a lot of these, so I'm excited to hear your thoughts, and I'm excited to get a lot more experience on other air rifles. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.